My ex-fiancé dumped me after I tried to live the whole life one last time. Hi, True Story. My name is Tiffany, and I honestly never thought I'd be the one writing into your channel. I've been listening for about a month now, and at first I thought it was just interesting drama to listen to in the background while I cleaned my apartment or drove to work. But the more I listened, the more I realized these men's stories are my ex's story too. And in some ways, they're my story. I guess I wanted to share mine because maybe it will help another woman, or at least explain how a girl like me could lose what was probably the best thing that ever happened to her. So, here it goes. I met my ex-fiancé at my nephew's baseball game. My nephew was 9 at the time, and my sister asked me to come out and support him. Honestly, I wasn't really interested in sitting outside in the heat for 2 hours to watch little kids miss balls and run the wrong way around bases. But I went because my nephew asked. I had no idea that day would change the whole direction of my life. He was one of the coaches. I noticed him before the game even started. Tall, broad shoulders, nice clean-cut beard, and a smile that just made you pause for a second. He wasn't flashy. He had on a simple team shirt, shorts, and a baseball cap, but he carried himself like he knew exactly who he was. That's what stood out to me. I had dated men before who were always trying to be someone they weren't, bragging about money they didn't have, or pretending to be interested in things they didn't care about just to impress me. But he was just him. After the game, my nephew ran up to me and introduced me to him. That's when I found out he wasn't just some volunteer dad. He was actually the assistant coach, and he had been helping with the team for a couple of seasons. He told me he was a mechanical engineering drafter and that he freelanced on the side. I didn't fully understand what that meant, but I could tell by the way he explained it that he took pride in his work. I'm not going to lie. Back then, I wasn't in the right mindset for a real relationship. I was set in my ways, as I like to call it. What that really means is, I was used to using men. I liked the lifestyle of having guys pay for my dinners, buy me little gifts, take me places, and all I had to do was give them enough attention to keep them hoping for more. Sometimes I'd sleep with them, sometimes I wouldn't. Either way, I kept it no strings attached. I'd convince myself that I was just having fun, or living my best life, but deep down, I think I knew I was playing with people's feelings. So when I met him, part of me was intrigued, but another part of me thought, okay, let's see what he's working with. That's where my friends came in. I ran back to my circle of girlfriends and told them about him. These were the women I listened to more than I should have. Looking back now, I realize how toxic they were, but at the time they were like my sisters. We had this little system whenever one of us met a guy. You had to put him through a series of tests. Sounds ridiculous now, but we thought it was genius. The tests were, make sure he spends money on you. Make sure he has a house and a car. Make sure he's packing and good in bed. See what he has in his bank account and how much he makes. I told my friends what he did for work, and right away they started Googling salaries for mechanical engineering drafters. The numbers were all over the place, from $40K to $80K a year. My friends were like, girl, that's not enough. You better find out if he's really making money. So I started digging. Not in the smoothest way either. I was snooping through his stuff when I went over to his place one night, and that's when I hit the jackpot. I found his tax return in a drawer, and it showed that with his full-time job plus his freelance drafting, he had made over $130K the prior year. Then a few days later, I saw an ATM receipt on his counter. He had $80K sitting in his savings account. I can't even lie. When I saw that, I was sold. Between that, his job, his car, and his own apartment, I thought, okay, he checks all the boxes. And yes, the sex was decent too. He wasn't as rough as I liked, but I figured that could be taught. So I let myself start falling for him. We dated seriously for a year, and somewhere in that time, my feelings shifted. I didn't just see him as a provider anymore. I actually loved him. He was the kind of man who opened doors, remembered little details I said, and treated my family with respect. Even my friends, the same ones who told me to test him, admitted he seemed perfect. A year later, he proposed, and I said yes. We started planning a wedding, and it should have been the happiest time of my life, but that's when things went wrong. The breaking point was a trip to Jamaica. Some of my girlfriends planned this big trip, and they were all hyped about it. I wanted to go so bad, but when I brought it up to my fiancé, he shut it down immediately. He said, "We're planning a wedding. It's not responsible to spend thousands of dollars right now on a trip. How about we go to Jamaica together for our honeymoon instead?" I know what you're probably thinking. What's wrong with that? But at the time, I was furious. It didn't sound exciting to me. I wanted to go with my friends, not with him. I told him he was controlling, and I even threw out, if I wanted to cheat, I could just cheat right here in this city. That caused one of our biggest arguments ever. I packed a bag and went to stay at my friend's house for the night. That's when I made the worst mistake of my life. My friends convinced me that I was about to be stuck with the same man for the rest of my life. They told me I should live it up one last time before marriage. Within 2 hours of me being there, they had guys over, and I ended up hooking up with one of them. The scariest part? I didn't even feel bad the next morning. If anything, I felt numb. That's when I started questioning myself. Do I even deserve my fiancé? When I got home, he was sitting on the couch, looking like he hadn't slept. His eyes were red, and he was damn near teary-eyed. Somehow he knew. I still don't know how he figured it out. He didn't ask, didn't argue, didn't give me a chance to explain. He just grabbed my hand, yanked the ring off my finger, and said, "Come back tomorrow for your stuff." The next day, I texted him asking if we could talk. His reply was only 4 words. "Screw you, you dirty cheater." That was it. That's the last I heard from him. I didn't have much at his apartment anyway. I hadn't fully moved in yet, so I just left, and I never got him back. Fast forward to today, and my life looks nothing like what I thought it would. I don't have those friends anymore. 2 of them married rich Nigerian men and don't even talk to me. Another one died in a freak jet ski accident. And me? I'm just bouncing from man to man, but none of them are husband material. They all just want sex. Maybe that's what I put out into the world, so that's all I attract now. Sometimes I sit alone and think about what my life would be like if I had just said no to that trip, no to my friends, and yes to my fiancé. We could have been married by now. I could have been a wife, maybe even a mom. Instead, I'm 31 years old, single, and realizing that I may have already lost the best man I'll ever meet. I know a lot of the stories you read are from men who got cheated on, and I can see why. It's always easy to point fingers and say, "She's the bad guy, he's the victim." But I want to add a different angle. Sometimes, women cheat not because their man is bad, but because they themselves are broken. I was broken. I let my friends dictate my choices. I let my greed and selfishness blind me to what I had. And now, I have to live with the consequences. Anyway, I just wanted to share my story. Maybe a man out there will hear it and recognize the red flags in his own relationship. Or maybe a woman will hear it and realize she's about to throw away something good before it's too late. Either way, thank you for reading. Update from Tiffany. Still wondering if my story will be read. Hi, True Story. This is Tiffany again. I wrote you my story a little while back about how I lost my ex-fiancé after I made the terrible mistake of listening to my friends and trying to live the whole life one last time before marriage. I told you about how I cheated, how he somehow knew, and how he walked away from me without looking back. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to read my email yet, but I've been listening faithfully for weeks now, waiting and hoping maybe my story would come up. I haven't heard it yet, so I figured I'd write an update and also ask if maybe mine will get read at some point. I think it could help people. Even though it paints me in a bad light, I feel like some women need to hear it so they don't make the same mistake I did. And maybe some men who are second guessing themselves about walking away will realize they were right to do so. Either way, I've got more to say now because life hasn't stopped since I hit send on that first email. A few days ago, I ran into my ex. I wasn't expecting it. I was at Target of all places, picking up some groceries and toiletries. I had my hair in a messy bun, no makeup on, just sweats and a t-shirt. The kind of outfit you never want to run into an ex in, especially that ex. I was pushing my cart down the frozen foods aisle when I saw him. At first, I wasn't even sure it was him, but then I noticed the way he walked, the way his shoulders squared up, and the easy confidence in his posture. It was him, no question. And he wasn't alone. He was with a woman. She had long black hair, a little shorter than me, but she was pretty. Not overdone, just natural. She had this glow about her. And the thing that cut the deepest, he was smiling from ear to ear, like really smiling. The kind of smile I hadn't seen on him in years, even back when we were together. I froze. I couldn't move my cart. I felt like my chest was tightening and my throat was closing. And as if that wasn't bad enough, he saw me. Our eyes locked for just a second. I don't even know what I expected. Maybe a nod. Maybe some polite acknowledgement, maybe even a half smile to be civil, but I got none of that. He just looked at me, flat and unreadable, and then looked away and kept walking with her. That's when the jealousy hit me like a wave. I thought I was doing okay, thought I had accepted the consequences of my actions. But seeing him with her, happy, while I'm over here lonely and lost, I felt it in my gut. I knew without a doubt I had dropped the ball. I had fumbled the best relationship of my life, and now someone else was reaping the rewards. I stood there for a good minute, pretending to look at bags of frozen vegetables I didn't even want, just trying to collect myself. My hands were shaking. I wanted to cry, but I held it in until I got back in my car. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the image of his smile in my head, but this time, that smile wasn't for me. It was for her. The truth is, my life has been confusing ever since the breakup. When I first wrote to you, I mentioned how I had no friends left. That's still true. Those women I used to lean on, they're gone. 2 of them are married off to rich men and don't have time for me anymore. The other one passed away. For the first time in my adult life, I don't have a circle. No one to call late at night. No one to hype me up when I'm doubting myself. No one to talk me out of my bad decisions or into my worse ones. And while I can admit now that my old friends weren't exactly good influences, at least I didn't feel alone back then. Now I do, deeply. And to make it worse, I've been going through something I never thought I would. I'm deconstructing from my religion. I was raised Christian, and for most of my life, whenever I felt lost or broken, I would pray. When my parents split, I prayed. When I failed my first college class, I prayed. When I didn't know how to pay rent one month, I prayed. Even when I was living my wild lifestyle, part of me still thought God was listening, still thought he'd help me figure things out. But lately, I can't even bring myself to pray. It started with questions. Why do bad things happen to good people? Why did my ex, who was genuinely a good man, get stuck with me, a woman who clearly wasn't ready for him? Why did my best friend have to die in a stupid jet ski accident when there are people out there doing horrible things every day and living long lives? Why did I have to lose the one man who treated me right, while the guys I meet now only want to use me for sex? The more questions I had, the fewer answers I found, and slowly I stopped praying. At first, I'd go to bed and forget. Then I'd remember but think, what's the point? And now, even when I feel the urge, I can't do it. I just sit in silence. That silence is the scariest part because before, even when I had no one else, I felt like at least God was there. Now it feels like I don't even have that. So here I am. No fiance, no friends, no faith, just me. I wish I could tell you I've been focusing on myself and healing, but if I'm honest, I've been filling the void with men. Not in a healthy way either. I go on dates, I hook up sometimes, but it never goes anywhere. These men don't see me as wife material, and maybe they're right not to. All they want is sex, and I give in because for a couple of hours it feels like I matter to someone. But the next morning, I feel emptier than before. Sometimes I catch myself scrolling through old photos of me and my ex, especially the engagement pictures. We looked so happy, and I wonder, was I really that blind? Was I so wrapped up in trying to live a lifestyle and impress my friends that I couldn't see what I had? The answer is yes, and the punishment is living with that knowledge every day. Seeing him again at Target made all of this hit harder. The way he ignored me told me everything I needed to know. He's over it. He's over me. He's moved on. And not only that, he looks happier than ever. Meanwhile, I'm stuck. I'm stuck in regret, stuck in confusion, stuck in this never-ending loop of asking myself, what if? What if I had ignored my friends? What if I had said no that night when they brought those guys over? What if I had chosen him instead of a meaningless fling? Would I be married right now? Would I have kids? Would I have a stable, loving home instead of this empty apartment where the silence is deafening? I'll never know. I don't really know what the point of this update is, other than to share where I'm at. I guess part of me still hopes you'll read my story on your channel because maybe it will give me a sense of closure. Like, at least my mistakes meant something if they can help someone else avoid them. If you do read it, I don't expect sympathy. I don't even expect forgiveness. I just want the truth out there, that sometimes women really do throw away good men, not because the men weren't good enough, but because the women weren't ready to be better. And that's me. I wasn't ready. I was selfish. And now I'm lost. Anyway, thank you for letting me vent again. Even if my emails never get read, writing them out has been its own kind of therapy. Sincerely, Tiffany.